Hey everyone, welcome back to Carpe Diem. Today we're diving into a timeless lesson from Dale Carnegie's classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Let's look at Chapter 1. If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Sounds interesting, right? So, what's this chapter all about? It's pretty straightforward. Carnegie says if you want to influence people and build strong relationships, the last thing you should do is criticize, condemn, or complain. Why? Because criticism is futile. Think about it. When someone criticizes you, don't you feel a strong urge to defend yourself? That's human nature. Criticism puts people on the defensive, and, more often than not, only leads them to justify their actions rather than make any lasting change. But criticism isn't just ineffective, it's dangerous. Carnegie points out that criticism wounds a person's pride and can create deep resentment. Instead of making someone feel open to change, it often leaves them hurt, resentful, or even angry. As much as we thirst for approval, we dread condemnation. Think about that. We crave approval, but we fear criticism. When we criticize, we're usually just feeding into resentment. Carnegie explains that it's human nature to deflect blame. It's just easier for us to point fingers than to reflect on our own mistakes. This is why change, development, and improvement have to start within ourselves before we expect it from others. With malice towards none, with charity for all. One of the most powerful points Carnegie makes is that we're not creatures of pure logic. We're creatures of emotion, pride, and sometimes prejudice. This means that harsh criticism doesn't appeal to the part of us that feels. To truly influence people, you have to appeal to their emotions, not their logic. But to be understanding and forgiving, that takes character. And that's the path to real influence. So what should we do instead of criticizing? Carnegie suggests we try to understand. Try to see why people do what they do. As the saying goes, to know all is to forgive all. When we approach people with curiosity and empathy instead of judgment, we foster kindness, tolerance, and even friendship. Carnegie sums it up with his first principle: don't criticize, condemn, or complain. The goal isn't to ignore problems, but to approach them in a way that builds people up rather than tearing them down. Even God, as Carnegie says, doesn't judge until the end of a person's life. So why should we? So, if you take one thing away from this chapter, let it be this: instead of criticizing, try to understand. It's a small change in perspective, but it can lead to huge results in building better relationships. Let me know in the comments, how do you deal with the urge to criticize? Do you think it's as powerful a change as Carnegie says? I'd love to hear your thoughts.